Okay. Well, I don't hear that in my ears. Check, check. Oh, it helps to plug in your little thing here. What do you call it? All right. My gosh. There we go. See if that makes sound. Yes. Whoa, it's killing me. Killing me, Smalls. Oh. Okay. Hey, guys. This is Mark Teaches Music. This is Mark Black. I want you to have fun and be awesome. And this is our to play and sing Q&A where you can ask all sorts of questions. See, Tom is being amusing down there. He says present. See, he's here. It's a present. Let's see, what is it? The future is a mystery and the past is history. But now is a gift because that's why it's called the present. Kung Fu Panda quotes. Okay, something like that. So, hi guys. That's still really loud. Today is the 11th day of January, 2023. This is the 31st episode of To Play and Sing. And I'm trying to answer everybody's questions and about music, about learning music, about playing music, about being in ensembles, about your personality, about how to practice, how to develop skills, anything like that. If you want more information about lessons, go to www.dallasmusiclessons.com, and there's information there both about me and how we teach, as well as how to get hold of us for lessons. And then if you got any questions, of course you need to put them in the chat. Duh. And then if you can't, if you miss it, then you can email me at mark@dallasmusiclessons.com. mark@dallasmusiclessons.com. So I want you to jump in and send me questions right now. Don't, just go ahead and put them in, and I'll get on it. And I reserve the right to say I don't know. There's exactly 4 things I don't know. If you ask one of those 4 things, I will say I don't know. So, and if you like this, you need to subscribe. You need to hit like. You need to hit the bell for notifications. You need to do something else. I'm not quite, what is that other thing? You need to share the video, leave comments and down there, like a picture of a present. That could be one of your comments. So without further eloquence, I'm going to jump right in. And but just by the way, for the last, I don't know, 16 or 17 or 18 sessions, episodes, I decided, hey, I'll play an instrument, improvise or something to kind of let everybody know, hey, I actually can play music. I'm not just talking about stuff. But slowly I've realized that, hey, we're doing another music seminar at Tuesdays at 7:45 on improvising. It's me improvising, and then you improvise back and forth. So if you want to see me play, just show up Tuesday at 7:45 on the same bat time, same bat channel. Mark at Dallas Music Lessons. No, Mark Teaches Music, and you can do that. So anyway, it was a bit redundant, a bit hard to do, not hard to play, but hard to get it together. So letting that go. So here we go. Let's see. We got our questions. Okay, here's the first question. Very interesting question. What applications of music allow for low practice? And what should I avoid if I don't want to practice much, or I cannot practice much? I can't practice much, or I won't practice much. I'm thinking of you, Keshav, when I'm thinking about this. So now you remember in various, if you don't remember, there's more things than one that make up for being a good musician. And so some people will practice a lot. Some people will be very smart. Some people will be very physically skilled. Some people have great ears. Some people will have a great teacher or a great method or a great learning approach. In other words, they're not practicing so much, but by golly, they're squeezing every ounce of goodness out of that. And there's about at least nine things that go into becoming a good musician. So first off, low practice doesn't have to mean that you don't do well, but it usually does. So anyway, so here's this person. They're saying, hey, I don't want to practice much. I'm not going to be able to practice much for either willfully or just I can't. So how do I direct my efforts, knowing that I'm not really going to get to practice? So first off, let me say that the voice is the easiest instrument to learn, the easiest thing to learn, and the reason is God. Oh, God made everybody with a voice, and everybody can sing, and so everybody is in one nine. No kidding. 9,999 people out of 10,000 can sing. So what I'm saying is, most people can already sing, and if you can sing, if you can just do this, not with me, your own version, but it sounded correct. Happy birthday to you. That's it. If you can do that, and it's in tune with itself, you can go Amazing Grace. That's fine. Doesn't have to be my key. It can be in your own key. If you can do that and keep those notes in the same key, then you can learn to sing and sing better. So the voice is natural, the easiest instrument to do, and in one sense, that is why lots of instrumentalists, with understanding, would say the voice is not an instrument, or a vocalist is not a musician, because so many vocalists do not treat themselves as musicians. They don't practice. They don't develop their range or their skill or their knowledge of the voice or how to sing better. Just by the way. So and then I'm just pointing at that as a illustration of how easy it is to sing. So people, they don't know this. I don't know nothing about music, but they sing pretty good, or they sing amazingly. So it does not mean that is being able to sing. I'm talking about easy things to do. Singing and singing pretty good doesn't mean that you're going to have not practicing, not working on it. Doesn't mean you'll be great. It doesn't mean you'll have a great range, but it means you would have a good chance of being pretty good at that if you spent some time on it. And just by the way, now y'all tell me stuff. Be saying things. You shut up. I work 15 hours a day on my voice. That's very interesting. I don't think that's possible. But and then, just by the way, in each family of instruments, there are easier and harder versions of those instruments. For example, in the woodwind family, the saxophone, which I started playing when I was 10, is the easiest instrument to play. That it basically is benefiting from the centuries before it. And when Adolf Sax, that actually was his name, the Belgian, when he invented the saxophone, trying to combine the brass family, trumpets and trombones, with the woodwind family, clarinets and flutes and stuff, he had advantage of all these centuries of both metallurgy and understanding of acoustics and all these things. So it has a lot of things better to it. Strangely enough, it still is pretty out of tune, but it is still the most logical and easy woodwind to learn, compared with, I've already said, well, I know you've all seen everything I ever said, but compared with the bassoon or the oboe, and I have a degree in playing the oboe. I think the bassoon's even harder to play. So just commenting, so you say, oh, I want to play blah, 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 and there may be a family that's easier. In the family, sounds like this, the oboe is harder than the saxophone. The saxophone's the easiest, and it's harder than, and in the fretted instruments, guitar, mandolin, bass, ukulele, I'm sure I'm leaving something out. The bass is the easiest instrument to play. In this case, it's not the playing of it. It has thick strings. It's what we're asking the bass to do. Most of the time, what we're asking the bass to do is go doom, boom, 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 do, 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 boom, boom, boom. That would actually be a pretty busy bass part for most songs. And because the bass is like akin to the drums, we don't want, we don't really want that in most of our songs. And so there may be somebody listening, you go, oh, that is what I want. But if you ask 100 people, they're like, I'm listening to the singer, I'm listening to the guitar, I'm listening. So what I'm saying is, not that the bass can't be complicated. And we looked at Victor Wooten or Steve Bailey and say, wow, those guys are amazing, blah, blah, blah. Abraham Laboriel, my favorite guy, Chuck Rainey. It's Chuck Rainey. Just saying, incredible players. But if you looked at all what a bass does, it's less. So I'm saying here's an instrument that's fretted. It does less difficult things. Now, any instrument, the piano, the guitar, the mandolin, the ukulele, that is playing, when it is playing in an accompaniment style, a rhythm piano, rhythm guitar, it's playing chords, it's similar to the bass in the sense that the point of it now is not to stand out and go like, oh my gosh, what is that incredible bass player doing? I mean, or what's that incredible piano player doing? Or he's playing Bach, he's playing a Ravel, he's playing he's playing I'm thinking all these funny names with the wrong name. I'm thinking Hootie and the Blowfish, but that's not what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say Jelly Roll Morton's what I'm trying to say. Really interesting stuff, cool stuff. That's not what he's doing. He's going boo boo chi digga doom da da da. And the point is of accompaniment or rhythm guitar, rhythm bass, not rhythm bass, rhythm piano, rhythm mandolin. So the guy on the mandolin's playing a song and people are singing and he's strumming. And that is much easier to do than to play a solo or to play either a solo with accompaniment or just him by himself. So, and that's on every instrument. So any of these instruments that can make chords, playing accompaniment is a lot easier to do and requires a lot less practice, and you don't have to work on it as much. And if you're willing to sing or you got somebody to sing with you, it's like, well, that sounds pretty darn good. And if you listen on the radio, you're listening to music on the radio, you'll notice that, and I'm talking about, I'm not taking all of music. I'm saying what's on the radio, when I'm just talking about your regular, YouTube, I hate to say these words, but, Disney kids or whatever, Disney radio is what I'm trying to say. Disney radio, it's like what's on there. It is instruments comping or playing rhythm while somebody sings, and the voice is the most important thing. And in one sense, we don't exactly care what those other instruments are doing because the voice is singing. And that's what we're all about. Is listen to that person sing. Did you ever feel like a plastic bag? What a great line, huh? So, but it's a cool sound. All right, now, and in those instruments that can play chords, you learn the basics. Now, that may take you a while to do that, but once you learn the basics, what the chords, how to make the chords, some rhythm patterns, then it becomes pretty easy to do. We're just talking about things that could be done in music without a lot of work, a lot of practice, a lot of preparation. And then styles. So, for example, most rock, most country, praise and worship, folk music, most blues, it's not complicated music, and meaning it's pretty easy to do. Now, I'm not talking about, I can't think of his name. I'm not talking about playing lead solos or chicken picking or anything like that. We're talking about what we're expecting mostly is I don't know why. This is dumb. I do know lots of new modern country songs, but I can't think of the only thing right now is. I was going to get the ukulele, but this is closer, so it'll be less off-putting. I don't know if it's plugged in here or not. I guess not. Oh, wait a minute. Here it is. Yeah. Oh, get rid of that distortion. I want to go home with the armadillo. That's all I can think of. Good country music forever and never leave. Or how about, oh, good gracious. Got to get in our time period. How's it go? Sugar, yes, please. Won't you carry that on me? I'm right here, 'cause I need love and little sympathy. I got within the decade, So I'm just trying to say, so here it is, this music that's on the radio, And there's only 4 chords to that, and you don't have to do what I did. You can do something much more basic. So the styles of music, the general style is sort of vocally based, and also talking about most rock, most country music, most blues, most folk. The point is the guy singing. And we're listening to the dude sing, and we're going like, or the girl sing. We're going, wow, that's makes me cry. Especially they're so bad. No, that makes me cry. It's so emotional, so heartwarming. It's so just me. It's just what I think. Whatever. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with dance music. There's nothing wrong with EDM. Electric dance music. That's just about here's the drop. That kind of stuff. Zero wrong with that. Music does not have to be an intellectual exercise. And my question to myself, and I'm quite serious about this, the 40 years ago question to myself is it wrong to whistle? Is it wrong to go, is that wrong? Because we're not going, what key is that? Is that the third? No, none of that's wrong. It's all great. It's great if you want to just listen to music in your car. It's great if you want to dance to music. It's great if you want to puzzle out all the depths of music and write music that no one likes except you and 3 of your friends. I personally wouldn't do that, but I'm just saying the range of things you can do with music. But simple music is more about the voice and I'm just saying in those styles I just said kind of dominates. You would want to stay away from styles like bluegrass, jazz, progressive rock, funk, classical music, because a defining characteristic of that music, those musics, is complexity, various kinds of complexity. But most of the things we'd say, I want that to be hard. I want that to be complicated. A jazz tune. See if I can get the volume. This sound. I don't want that. We want that no repetition of chords in that little example. I wish that sounded better, but it didn't. But anyway, I'm saying I don't mean it. I just mean that's not a especially difficult jazz song. It's just a normal jazz song. And so I tell people, and I get thinking of someone in particular now, telling them for decades, hey man, the style you're in requires work, and so anyway, just telling you. So those styles, the styles that you could embrace: rock, country, praise and worship, folk, blues, and there's probably some others. Zydeco, I love that. Versus don't play bluegrass, jazz, progressive rock, funk, classical, because they're expecting more complexity. Okay, now I see how much time I got there. I'll just go ahead and do it. Well, so the second question is, what is the perfect student? Now, first off, we have a disclaimer. This is, of course, my opinion on what the perfect student is and who, what the National Bureau of Teachers would say what the perfect student is. So this is my opinion. So the first thing I want to do with that is define what the perfect student would be. That would be, I guess we would say, the person who's most likely to become a musician and is pleasurable to teach or adequate to teach. It's not too negative to teach that person. So I'm saying so the definition would be well, this person could become a musician. And again, just not trying to beat it all to death, but my definition of a musician is just someone that when you play or when you sing, people can enjoy it and they're not expecting you or afraid you're going to mess up. So if someone can listen to you and think, yeah, that's pretty cool. Not's amazing. Not you play just like Jeff Beck, who just died. But no, you can play and it's pleasant and we're not worried about you messing up, then you're a musician. So lots of you guys are musicians. So anyway, so the perfect student is the person most likely to become a musician, someone who can listen to it and enjoy them and is not too obnoxious to be around once a week or so. So first thing that's very important to me is that the person will do what I say. And it is not because I am stuck up, although I may be stuck up, but that's not why I want them to do what I say. But it's like if you bought a book on how to tap, on tapping, it's a technique on the guitar and the bass. If you bought a book on tapping and then you even read the book, but you wouldn't do anything in the book, you just do your own thing about tapping, then why did you buy the book? If you're not going to do what's in the book, why buy the book? So if you're taking lessons, you should do what the person is teaching you. And I've said this before, if anybody remembers, but I mean, I had a student, I've had other students do this, but this particular student came up in this thing like, this guy's going to lessons with me and going to lessons with somebody else. And I told him, and it wasn't like he's going to me for rock and he's going to some other class. It was like both rock, same thing. I said, well, you really need to quit. And one of the other, and I didn't say who he should quit. God, I didn't know the other person, but I'm saying it's like, so you're just getting different messages. And here my point is not about quitting, but not taking two teachers, but it's that, what does the teacher do? He comes in and he says, this is what's important. This is what you need to be doing. This is the overarching thing that we've got to get going, to make you what you told me you wanted to be. And then somebody else will have a slightly different or maybe radically different idea. And so my point is not about the one teacher, but it's about what does the teacher do. The teacher comes in and says, this is what you need to be doing. This is how to fix all your problems. And so you need to do what the teacher says. You'll never know if he knows what he's talking about. And just by the way, you should give, I hate that this number is as big as it is, but it does seem to be true. You need to give a teacher 6 months. You mean if it's a bad, obnoxious person, you don't have to do that. But I'm talking about in terms of what he's telling you to do, you probably have to do that for less than 3, and probably 6 months to really see if, that was right. Just by the way. So anyway, so the first thing about a perfect student would be somebody who's doing what they're, I don't mean they're like, yes, sir. I just mean they're more like, hey, you told me to hold my hand like this. I'll try that. I'll give it a good shot. And so I've had, and just by the way, I've had plenty of students who practice 1 or 2 hours a day, but they're doing their own thing. They're taking lessons with me, and they're like, yeah, I'm practicing. That's a good amount of time, but they're just doing their own thing. And I don't know what. It's not that I'm like neglected. It's like, and then I'm thinking specific of several people. People took lessons for years, and they don't make much progress. And it's like, why? Because they got a pilot. We're going to go this way on the ship. We're going to go down the channel like this, and then they didn't do what he said, so they're just sitting where they were. So again, it's not me. It's like, so the perfect student does what the teacher says and sees if it works, in good faith, trying to see if they know what they're talking about, not trying to second guess it, not because of the personalities involved, but because of the learning involved. Secondly, this is a very good thing, is about rolling with the punches of life and practicing issues. And I do not mean a good attitude. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm saying, things going to happen. You're going to get sick for 3 weeks, or you'll lose your job, or things happen. And being able, and I'm not talking about good attitude. I don't want people to have a bad attitude. But what I'm trying to say is not letting those things crush them and crush their musical effort, because there's lots of things that happen that nobody's planning on. So that really helps a student succeed, is having it in their head, I'm in this for a long haul, and there'll be problems that are holding me back, and I want to make those stuff work anyway. And then another thing that I think is super important, which is in no way contrasting with the first thing, is that somebody who's asked questions and is communicative and says, I don't know why you're making me learn music theory. How does this help me at all? Or do I really have to hold this chord this way? Do I really have to? Why are you always correcting me about my embouchure? Why is this important? Why, and the idea, besides that, what really helps is when the student has got their energy and attention behind what they're being taught. They're not just like, okay, you said this, but they're like, man, that really makes a lot of sense. That's a good thing that happens. And another thing that happens with that is very good is that when you come up to an area of, let's just say it was holding your hand a certain way, and let's talk about the bass and the guitar and these instruments. You need to use 4 fingers. You don't need to. Do people play with 3 fingers and they're great? Yes, of course. Do you think it would be a good idea to cut off that finger since they're not going to use it? Probably not. You know, but so you will play anywhere from 25% better to 5% better, just a little better, if you use 4 fingers. Period. So like somebody who practices their scales with 4 fingers, and they may be like, oh, hey, this is so stupid. But they're going like, okay, I'll do it. That becomes a part of their life. And then when they go to play something they never played before, a solo, a scale, a lead, either a fingerstyle thing or a solo, it's like their fingers are just flowing in the right place without thinking about it. So, so anyway, so I really wanted to ask you guys, so what do you guys think is needed to be a good student? So if you're here on the thing, ask me that question. Hey, Jeffrey, if you're here on the live thing, ask them, what do you think is necessary to be a great student or a good student? I mean, I'm talking about that, not me happy, the teacher happy, but the learner. Like what does it take to be somebody who learns like we would like for them to learn? So throw that down in here in these comments. And if you're seeing this after the show, put it in the comments too. So now you chat, yay, and then if you see this later, you can put it in the comments. Okay, so so I want to, if you could do that right now, do it. And while you're typing, what you think is necessary to be a good student, a perfect student, I want to ask this question: is how is a drummer like a philosopher? How is a drummer like a philosopher? Okay, that's a good question, and the answer is the drummer and the philosopher both perceive time as an abstract concept. Time is abstract. Okay, that's how a drummer is like a philosopher. There you go. Okay, I think I have enough time. Okay, so there's just people piling in here with all these. No, there's not. And then I was going to ask this before, and I forgot to ask it. We were talking about what styles and instruments and things are easy to play. So I wanted to ask you guys, what styles and applications, instruments, ways to play are easiest or the hardest. Again, if you're here live, ask me or tell me your opinion. I think I like this. I think this is the easiest. Or this is super hard. Or this kind of music is super hard. Or this is the easiest. So either chat or put that in the comments now. Okay, so while I'm waiting on that, the last question is how many lessons can I miss in a 3-month period and still benefit from lessons? So they're missing some lessons. I mean, it's 3 months, and it's just like a finite length of time, as opposed to 12, something a little more. It's not that it's finite. It's more like, okay, we can predict things and something like that. So in 3 months. So the first question about that is, are you missing lessons like you're out of town on the day of your lesson, or are you not practicing? So in other words, you have a lesson on Tuesday and a lesson, and now you're going to miss that Tuesday lesson, but you practiced, and next week you missed again, but you practiced. Is that it? Or you're in Acapulco for 3 weeks or 5 weeks, and you cannot practice and all like that. So that would make, I'm just talking about in the answer to that question, would make a big difference. If you're practicing, or either normal or very close to normal, then that makes a difference. And so how does that make a difference? Well, it just means that another thing to factor in there is where you could have video lessons. You could have lessons out of your lessons on Tuesday, but you could have a lesson on Thursday, like that. That would still work. And if you're still practicing, that video lesson or that out of sequence lesson would still work. But I think you can still benefit from lessons even if you miss. I'm talking about the 3 month period, but just as a length, like say that was what happened. If you had lessons every other week, you'd still benefit from lessons just about as good. And the idea would be too that your teacher would be like, okay, I won't see you. I won't see you next week. So here's what we're going to do. Now, if you're not practicing, meaning that new material has not been mastered, new things have not developed or come up. You're kind of sitting on this. And again, this is so like, you went on a family vacation for 3 weeks and there's nothing, you couldn't avoid it, you couldn't take your instrument. Uh, and so you just come back and you're just like, duh. Or let's say you could take a video lesson, uh, one in the middle of that 3 week period, or every week like normal. So for a couple of lessons, even 3 lessons, without practicing, I'm talking about now, you can still benefit and benefit well, because we can have a lesson. A lesson can be had where you're just playing, and you're playing with your teacher, who's a good musician, and he's doing cool stuff and showing you things. Hey, do this chord. Hey, let's play this song. You're like, oh, I hadn't played this song. They'd be really great. So I'm saying a lesson like that would be awesome. Can you do 6 lessons in a row like that? Probably not. I mean, you can, but then every time you do it, the benefit diminishes, because one of the reasons you're getting better is you're like, normally you're like, here, play this new song, but it's got these 2 chords you don't know, and it's got this strum that you don't know, And so again, 1 week well, you really couldn't do that, but we went on through it, and that song, and you couldn't do the strum on this song, but so 1 lesson like that's fine, and maybe 2 is like fine, but when you get like 6 and 7, you get into where you're kind of churning the same thing over and over and not really developing, because one of the benefits from you taking lessons and is your ability to see what's wrong and fix it. And then a lesson where you're learning something new. Here's this new technique I said a minute ago, tapping. Or here is a theory. A theory is so important. All theory is about, period, is teaching your brain, it's your left side of your brain, to understand what you hear. That's what theory is about. Even though there's quite involved to make that happen, but that's all we're trying to get to happen. Getting the brain to understand, oh, that was a major 7 chord, that cool sound, or that was the 4 chord, or I made it a minor 4, and it's not just magic, whoa, but rather it's like, no, I understand that and why it worked and how to do it again and how to do it in another key and stuff like that. So we can do new theory concepts, new rhythmic concepts, and then new instrument concepts, and singing falsetto, blending the head and chest voice, or things that we hadn't talked about. And typically in my lessons, frequently it would be like I was planning on getting that stuff anyway, and it just kind of moved things up. And then the same, just by way in the same thing, you as a learner may have things that you have, not your teachers generating, but you've been like, I wondered how do I do this? And that would be this time where you're not practicing or not seeing them frequently, can't build on things because of that, would be a great time to just shout out something and let's try this, because we normally lessons are about, we learn this new thing, come back next week, let's see how that's going, learn a little bitty new thing, and like the lessons are like building on one another. But when you don't have that sequence of building, then we would take it just exactly like I said earlier about something different. I was saying buying a book. You buy a book and you didn't know anything about alternate tunings, or you didn't know anything about playing the altissimo register on your saxophone. And so you jump right in there. It wouldn't be any different to do it today when you hadn't had lessons for 1 or 2 or 3 weeks than if you had done it, right in the middle of your lessons. You hadn't thought about it before anyway. So, and then another issue that we always want to remember is there's always the issue about not giving up. I don't mean you quitter. I just mean, my gosh, there's a lot of things going on in life. And if you look at life, you grown-ups, I'm quite serious, when would you say, every once a few of you could say this, but when would you ever say, yeah, 5 years ago, right now I got a lot more time than I had 2 years ago. I'm going to get back in lessons. Certainly our perception, all of us grown-ups, is that we just go from more to do to more to do to, it's just growing constantly, more to do. So just in terms of not stopping, not pulling out, I don't mean you can't, And of course, there's terrible things that happen, and sometimes people need to do that. But I just want, it's very hard to start back. So I'm just putting this in a big ball and saying that, so if you miss every other week of lessons, it's probably just fine. If you miss a group of 2 or 3 lessons, it's okay, especially okay if you can get some sort of input, you know, and again, the question is, are you practicing? But even if you weren't practicing and you get input on a new thing you hadn't done, then that would be like, it doesn't matter that you hadn't practiced because it's a new concept. I never, you know, however, coming back, you know, we learned about tapping and come back the next week and hadn't done anything about that. We could talk a little bit more about tapping, you know, second lesson about tapping. We can't have 7 lessons on tapping in which you never have practiced it, because at some point we're just saying you can't do anything that I said for the last month. So anyway, okay. So we talked about 3 things. We talked about the applications, ways to play instruments, kinds of music that take the least practice. We talked about the perfect student from the standpoint of who's the most likely to become a musician and not be too obnoxious to be around. We talked about how a drummer is like a philosopher. And we talked about how many lessons you can miss without affecting your progress much. So this is Mark Teaches Music. This is the To Play and Sing Q&A. And our channel, my channel, is Mark Teaches Music. And my name is Mark Black. I already said that. So, you know, click the bell, subscribe, leave comments, share this. Get some other people on here with me. And what else? I'm supposed to say something else. Oh, yeah. So if you want lessons, go to www.dallasmusiclessons.com. Please leave comments. And if you have any questions that I can answer, since I'm fixing to turn this off, you can email me at mark@dallasmusiclessons.com. And until I see you again, I want you to have fun. I want you to be awesome.